You're listening to India Bio Speaks, your one-stop resource for science, news, and careers. Hello and welcome to our episode on crafting your career in science. In today's episode, we shall talk about networking, which is a very important survival skill in one's career progression. Most of us shy away from it, but we hope to make a case today that networking is both cultivable and can actually be fun. Joining me again today are Smita and Shreya. Welcome back.
Hello, Lakshmi.
Hi, Lakshmi.
Listeners, before we begin, I would like to point all of you to an excellent article on how to build your network by Brian Uzi and Shannon Dunlap. Much of our discussion today will be broadly based on some of the networking principles that they talk about. You will find a link to this in the description section of this podcast for further reading. Shreya, I would like to begin with you since you often call yourself a natural introvert. So what does professional networking mean to you?
That's true, Lakshmi. The thing to remember about professional networking is that it is a deliberate activity, and it not only helps us build professional relationships, but also helps us reinforce and maintain those relationships, and to ensure that they are diverse and based on trust and goodwill.
That's very nicely defined, Shreya. Many of us here might be introverts. We might wonder why we need to network at all, since we are pretty skilled otherwise. So, Smita, you're quite savvy at networking. Maybe you can tell us why we absolutely must invest in this life skill.
Well, Lakshmi, it's actually very, very important to invest, as you said, in this life skill. And it's very simple. You see, in today's time where public information is so rampant, it is very easy to be misinformed. And this information overload makes it still harder to distill what is truly useful. There's an advantage when one can gain access to relevant and reliable private information, and this can be obtained only through networking. Of course, the value of such private information depends on how much trust exists in the relationship. Private information may include, let's say, knowledge about what a particular interviewer looks for in a candidate, a position whose opening is not in the public domain, and so on. These can offer competitive advantages to one over others that just rely on public information, which is practically available to all in this age of the internet. Also, with access to a wide network, your own reach for different activities becomes much easier.
I completely agree, Smita. And in addition to trust, I also believe that when we build a network focusing on diversity, that is, including people from different backgrounds, cultures, skills, and even personality types, this can open us up to fresh perspectives and hone our creativity. It can help us broaden our views, our skills, and make us well-rounded professionals overall.
Very true, Shreya. I also think that your network can be empowering. Knowing the right people at the right time or having the right mentors can enable you to get the right opportunities and rise up to your utmost potential.
Also, it can open us up to more opportunities to collaborate with individuals with complementary ideas or expertise.
True that. So listeners, now that we know some of the benefits of having a wide network, let's get started by first demystifying networking by breaking down the elements of a network and briefly discuss the science of networking. So the central point of your network is, of course, you yourself, and each of your contacts would be called a node in networking terms.
Exactly. And whenever you interact with any other human being, let's say through a conversation or dialogue or any other exchange, you make a connection. A group of connected individuals form a clique or a cluster. Your network will have several such clusters or cliques. And there might be people who belong to multiple clusters And in fact, they may be the common link through which you connected to these clusters in the first place. For example, let's say a colleague at work introduced you to a yoga class or a book club. This person is a member of both your work and yoga clusters. Now, this colleague is what we call an informational broker.
Yes, Shreya, and some of these informational brokers are extraordinarily evolved networkers, and they connect several diverse clusters and are usually very willing to share their contacts. And we call these people super connectors.
So, Lakshmi and Shreya, while this is very good and useful to know, I think it is equally important to think about how one can apply this knowledge.
Absolutely, Smita. Now, if you're a networking novice, it would be useful to study your own network and identify if you have such informational brokers and super connectors as part of your network. This can be a really good place to begin your journey in smart networking.
That's a great idea, Lakshmi. Another thing to keep in mind is the evolving nature of organizational structures. Earlier, most organizations used to have a pyramidal or a hierarchical structure where power resided traditionally in the hands of the top executives. So, if you wanted to visualize this, it would look something like a upside down samosa. But nowadays, organizations are getting flatter, like pancakes or like chapatis. With these flatter systems, power is more distributed and it tends to concentrate with informational brokers. Because these people have the remarkable ability to synthesize different points of view by connecting with diverse groups of people.
Now, there are also two types of networks, open networks and closed networks. While open networks are rich in diversity, closed networks are formed between trusted groups of like-minded individuals. Can you take a moment to think for yourself if you are part of some open or closed networks?
Hmm. Now, your family may be a closed network, or maybe there's a group of friends from school with whom you can share like anything, and that would also be a closed network.
Yeah, and open networks are connections that I make, say, at a conference or a workshop. Here, I don't particularly form deep bonds right away, but I could make quick friends with people from across locations, disciplines, etc.
That's right. In most successful teams, you would find trust and diversity built into their framework. Trust exists within the team structure, making it internally closed. At the same time, each team member is able to bring in their unique perspectives, skills, and resources from their individual networks, making it externally open.
That's a great way to think about it, Smita. Now that we are a little more aware of the nature of networks, we should also spend some time to talk about some common pitfalls in networking.
Absolutely, Lakshmi. Well, one very common tendency that we all have is to associate based on similarities. After all, like attracts like. When left to network, we naturally tend to connect with those that have much in common. There's another one. We tend to connect with some people by default. This could be our office groups or cliques due to our day to day interactions and proximity. This can also be limiting in some sense.
Yes, but that's not to say that we should not be friendly with like-minded humans or our colleagues. But if we limit ourselves to just these interactions that's based on similarity or proximity, then our networks become more and more inbred.
I know. The danger is that such a network can seem very comfortable as one's opinions and beliefs are echoed by others in the network. But in the long term, this can be very limiting as this will not allow new perspectives or constructive feedback or even new ideas to come in. This will eventually catch up and greatly undercut the network's diversity and creative potential.
So maybe after hearing all this, you could take a pause, even take a pen and paper, and make a list of your connections and draw out your network to help you get a better idea and reflect on these questions. How big or small is my network? How many trusted contacts do I have? How much diversity do I have within my network? Am I getting trapped into any of the common pitfalls of networking just based on similarity or proximity? Who are the informational brokers, and are there any super connectors in my network?
Yes, Smita, this is a very useful exercise. Listeners, in the description section of this podcast, you will find a worksheet that's based off the Uzi and Dunlap article to get you started on this exercise. You can download the PDF of this worksheet and work through it at your leisure.
Now that we have gained a better understanding of our own networks, we would now like to propose a two-pronged approach to networking. And that is, number one, to build and expand, and number two, to actively manage. Besides networking based on proximity and similarity, which are inbuilt tendencies like we saw, one great way to put ourselves out there is by deliberately participating in what we call as shared or group activities.
Yes, Lakshmi. These can be activities that can bring together individuals of diverse backgrounds based on any one common interest. For example, team sports or voluntary activities, hobbies, or even workshops and conferences. By bringing together people from diverse backgrounds, they provide access to diverse skill sets. They immediately provide access to a large number of networks by connecting different clusters. Basically, they help you expand your network while also incorporating diversity.
Yes, absolutely. I love voluntary activities. And while volunteering for a nonprofit organization, I came across people who were software engineers, marketing professionals, teachers, found several mentors, and so on. I learned so many skills from gardening to organizing events to building websites, which in fact even landed me my current job.
While it's very important to build and expand, most of us can ignore another part, which is equally, if not more essential, that is to maintain relationships.
Yes, oftentimes very simple things can go a long way. A simple follow up with a thank you note, connecting with them on LinkedIn, even when you first meet and get to know someone, are a few very effective habits to cultivate.
Yes, Smita. And when you know people a little better, you may invest in keeping in touch, which is a great habit too. Remembering to send a season's greeting or a birthday wish can make a world of difference in keeping such relationships, even long distance ones, intact.
Yes, Shreya. In fact, I want to share this that I have a high school friend. Her name is Aishwarya, who has so far never forgotten to wish me even once for my birthday. And just for this one reason, she's a friend for life, and I make it a point to wish her on hers. And she, in fact, inspired me to make a note of all of those who matter to me, my friends, my mentors, my trusted colleagues, and express my gratitude to them at least once in a while by sending them a birthday wish or Deepavali or Christmas or New Year's wish. Hearing back from each of them on such occasions is always such a pleasure, and it's very uplifting.
That's wonderful, Lakshmi. I also try to make it a point to drop a couple of lines just saying thank you whenever I find that I have benefited from any past interaction, even if it's in a small way. Like when I have had a chance to say apply something I have learned from someone in my network, or if I have had a good experience with someone they connected me with, even if it was a very long time ago.
These sound great. What I do, I always connect with this person, any new person I meet, or either in person or over virtual interactions. I send a LinkedIn message with a note, or Also, I send out greetings on festivals and other special occasions to my network.
Yes, Smita. Another great way is when you meet someone that is intellectually stimulating is to start a professional relationship and sustain it by actually collaborating and starting a project together. And I remember meeting like-minded professionals, Aditya and Chagun. We exchanged thoughts and ideas around creating a community of science policy enthusiasts. We started what's the Science Policy Forum, which is now an agency for public consultations for the National Science and Technology Innovation Policy 2020. So that was an example of a fruitful collaboration of like-minded individuals born through networking.
That's really nice, Lakshmi. Recently, we published an investigative article on our website, India Bioscience, on mental health support systems in academia. And this article was the result of a three-way collaboration between me, Devdatta, who's a scientist turned science journalist who was actually my junior at TIFR, where I did my PhD, and Annapurna, who turned out to be a mutual acquaintance of both of us. And it turned out that we had this common passion and interest, which we turned into this project.
Great. Ability to expand and maintain networks has always helped in opening multiple and diverse kinds of opportunities for me. Collaboration with YIM organizers to organize, let's say, regional YIMs, ease of reaching out to diverse set of speakers for our various different events, or involvement in projects of national importance, let's say COVID Gyan or STIP 2020, etc., are basically some of the benefits that come just because you have a strong and a wide network.
Listeners, you will find another worksheet in the description section of this podcast, where you can write down steps that you can take to build, expand, and maintain your network. Just remember that baby steps are perfectly fine to begin with. Just set aside maybe 15 minutes on a weekly basis to work on your network.
Very true, Shreya. You will also find several useful resources for reading and some great podcasts to listen to in the description section of this podcast as well.
So listeners, that was some of our learnings and experiences. And we would love to hear and learn more from you. Write to us, share your thoughts, your stories, and your ideas. Do subscribe to our season for more such conversations, only on crafting your career in science. If you're passionate about scientific research, communication, outreach, and science education as we are, please connect and engage with us, and here are some ways that you can do so.
Visit our website at www.indiabioscience.org.
Subscribe to our newsletters.
Write for us and join our online discussion forum at discuss.indiabioscience.org.
Advertise jobs, grants and events in the life sciences on our website.
And feel free to contact us anytime at hello@indiabioscience.org.
Until next time, enjoy your science and stay engaged to enable change.